Hi everyone! In my regular intros for my YouTube tutorials, some of you have spotted this painting here and asked me how to paint it. Well, this gave me a great idea for a quick fix because this is all painted with one colour, but of course we've got loads of different tones of blue there. So today we're going to look at how to first create many different tones from a single colour, and then we'll paint the flowers. So I've got French Ultramarine Blue here, and I've got a really concentrated amount on the brush, and I'm going to paint a circle full of colour. It's still quite wet, but it is more about having loads of colour. So I'm going to clean my brush off. I've got quite a large brush here, it's a size 6 pointed round. Clean that brush off entirely, and then with a wet brush I am going to paint in a circle of water that just overlaps the previous one, and I'm going to fill that in. And then I'm going to clean my brush off once again, so getting my brush completely clean but really wet. I'm going to paint another circle, and soon the colour is going to fade into nothing if I just carried that on, and we can see that the colour slowly fades down into nothing. Some colours you find you can go really far with, some sort of pause quite quickly, but you can see even into this one the colour from that one is going. So from here through to here there's a huge range of tone that allows us to create really varied pictures just from using a single colour. So let's have a go at doing that. Now, for anyone who is keen to learn how to paint flowers and foliage and roses, then you can have a look in my flowers and foliage playlist where we've got all kinds of bits and pieces. But this first rose, you'll see here I started with a really sort of concentrated amount of colour in the centre, and now I'm just using the wet brush to allow that colour to spread out to the edges, and it's the almost invisible point now. So I'm just going to draw in a little bit of colour from my palette just to give that rose the last bit of boost it needs. But what you'll find is as soon as these very dilute edges dry, you start to get a very crisp edge, as you can see here. So that is the beauty of doing a one colour composition. So I'm going to now get some more concentrated colour on the brush and contrast that with the very dilute petals of the flower. This is an extremely loose painting, so we're using large brushes and as few brush strokes as possible until it comes to doing some little sprigs of berries. Just using a smaller brush now, popping in a few little thin lines. And then we're just going to use water and rely on the tiny bits of paint that are still just starting to dry on the edge of those stems. So far we've just used, well, we're going to continue to just use the one colour but we've got such a contrast of a piece here. Now the last thing we're going to do is just add in a few slightly more slender leaves, and I'm going to mix up a sort of midway dilute bit of colour. I'm going to use my size 2 brush and then using the water. But we're going to have a bit of fun just by getting a really concentrated bit of the blue and dabbing in some colour just in there. So again, we've used two different types of the blue paint to give us a bit of variation. So I do hope that you go and have a play around with just the one colour in your kit and see what you can create.